For pretty much all of human history, life was just stuck. And then, just a few hundred years ago, something incredible happened. The world started getting richer, and it did so faster than ever before. So how did that happen? Let's unpack one of the biggest mysteries in economics, the real origin of growth. Seriously, think about that for a second. For hundreds of thousands of years, humanity was basically trapped. A person born in the year 1000 had more or less the exact same standard of living as someone born 1,000 years before them. Then, in what's really just the blink of an eye in the grand scheme of things, everything changed. What switch got flipped? And this timeline just shows the puzzle perfectly. I mean, look at that. On the left, you've got this long, stubbornly flat line. That's humanity for most of its existence, caught in something called the Malthusian trap. And then, bam, on the right, you see that, the famous hockey stick of progress, a takeoff that's almost vertical. So to figure out how we got here on this incredible upward curve, we first got to understand the prison we escaped from.
All right, so let's dive into this Malthusian world. And this wasn't just some abstract theory. For millennia, it was our reality. It was like we were all running on a treadmill and just couldn't get off.
So what exactly is this Malthusian trap? Well, the core idea, which Thomas Malthus made famous, is brutally simple. Whenever we got a little better at something, say a new technology that created more food or a bit of wealth, people would just have more children. And as the population grew, that extra wealth got spread thinner and thinner until, boom, living standards were right back down to where they started. And this cycle, it was just relentless. Imagine you invent a better plow. Great, you get a temporary surplus of food. But what does that really mean? It just means more kids survive to adulthood. Pretty soon you've got way more people trying to farm the same amount of land, and the average person is no better off than their great-great-great-grandparents. Any progress was constantly being eaten up by population growth. It was a perfect, inescapable trap. So the big question is, how did we finally break out? This is where the work of economist Oded Galor is so fascinating. He argues that the very thing that kept us trapped, our own population, slowly, almost invisibly, became the key to our escape. The vicious cycle was about to flip and become virtuous. And this is where the whole problem gets reframed. See, Malthus saw more people as a curse, just more mouths to feed, which meant smaller slices of the pie for everyone. But Galor's theory suggests that over a long enough time, more people also means more brains, more potential inventors, bigger markets to sell to, and a much faster way to spread new ideas around. And this is the new feedback loop that started to kick in. A larger, denser population starts to generate more ideas. More ideas lead to faster technological progress. And crucially, that technological progress begins to actually raise incomes. Now you have to understand, this wasn't an overnight thing. At first, this process was incredibly slow, almost unnoticeable. For thousands and thousands of years, that old Malthusian effect was still stronger. Population growth kept swallowing any new gains. But underneath the surface, the engine of innovation was slowly revving up. With every single generation, the rate of technological progress got just a tiny bit faster, fueled by that slowly growing global population. And then, finally, we hit the tipping point. Right around the Industrial Revolution, the pace of technological progress got so fast that it finally outran population growth. For the very first time in human history, the economic pie started growing faster than the number of people who wanted a slice. Humanity had finally achieved escape velocity. But of course, this incredible escape created a brand new puzzle. Right as we break free from the trap, something really strange happened. Families started having fewer children. Wait a minute, if a growing population was the secret sauce that got us here, why did growth keep accelerating even as that engine started to slow down? Well, the key to this puzzle lies in an idea from another economist, Gary Becker. He argued that all parents face this fundamental choice. Do you have a lot of children, or do you invest heavily in the future of just a few? It's what's known as the quantity-quality trade-off. Think about it. In a simple farming world, more children literally meant more hands to work the farm. That's a quantity strategy. But in the new industrial world, success suddenly depended on skills, on knowledge, on education. So parents, being rational, totally shifted their strategy. They started investing in the quality of their kids, their education, or what economists call their human capital. And you can see that shift plain as day right here on this chart. As soon as incomes passed a certain point, the whole pattern flipped. Instead of having a bunch of kids with very little education, families started having fewer children and pouring all those resources into their schooling and development.
And this was the real game changer. This massive shift toward education created a workforce with way more skills and knowledge, more human capital. We basically swapped out our old engine for a brand new supercharged one. And this new engine was even more powerful than the first, driving the nonstop innovation that defines our world today.
So, this unified theory gives us an incredibly powerful story for the entire economic journey of humanity. But it doesn't close the book completely. It still leaves us with some really fascinating and heavily debated questions.
For instance, the big one. If this was a global dynamic, why did the takeoff happen in 19th century Britain and not, say, in China, which had been way more technologically advanced for centuries? Well, the debate is still raging. Scholars point to all sorts of factors: Britain's unique access to trade, its early development of property rights, specific cultural habits, and even its geography. The precise recipe remains a hot topic.
And that brings us right back to today with one final and I think crucial question for our own time. This whole theory suggests that population growth, the sheer number of new minds, was the initial spark for all of this progress. Today, in many of the world's most advanced economies, population growth has slowed to a crawl, and in some cases, it's even reversing. So we have to ask ourselves, what happens to the engine of progress when its original fuel source starts to run out?